Welcome back, sewists. I want to work on this dress again today. This is one of my favorite dresses. I've not done it as far as I can tell. I went back and looked. I've not made a video on it. It's a new look pattern, and I wear this thing constantly. I've just about worn it out. That back there is the same dress. I've made it in a woven and in a knit. The pattern technically, I believe, is for wovens, but I prefer it in the knit. It's soft and floaty and easy and comfy, and it's, 90 degrees and up every day where I live. I need something cool and easy to wear, and I like this dress because I can wear it around the house all day long, and if I run out to go somewhere, I still look okay. It's new look 62-63, and I wear it right at the knee. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to lengthen it just a tiny bit in the back. When I'm standing straight at the beginning of the day, the hem is fine. As my back begins to get tired throughout the day, my posture gets worse and the hem dips, which does not look good. I'd rather have it be a little long in the back for the early morning and then even for the rest of the day, because that's how it is for me. I made this one in just a simple little geometric knit. This one is technically a border print, and you can see I put the border along the neckline. This is a woven. It does have a bust line dart. It hangs and looks beautiful in the woven fabric. However, for me, the knit is just so easy to wear. I don't put a pocket in my knit like this because I don't have any way to support it. A lot of times I do a pocket in a knit, there'll be a waistline or something where I can make a little jerry-rig support for that pocket. In this, it doesn't, and it really sags. So no pocket if I'm working with knit. In the woven, easy to add a pocket to. So I'm hoping I have enough of one of my scraps to get another dress out of. It doesn't take a ton of fabric, even in a size 18, which is what I will be sewing. So what I'm going to do first is just see if I have enough of either of these fabrics to get me another little dress. This is so fast to throw together. So it's a front, a back, a self-faced yoke that you will interface, and darts and a hem. It's a super fast sew, and for me, I love this kind of thing. It's easy to wear. It just skims the body. It's nice and cool for summer, and it still looks pretty cute. Okay, let's see if I have enough fabric. Center back seam, because I'm doing it in the knit, I don't need it, so I'm going to move over at the 5/8 inch here, but I'm going to kind of let it swing out so it's a little fuller in the back, because I always need room in the back. You can also see I've altered my paper pattern to be a little wider than the 18 in the hip. I'm also going to just draw down and make this a little lower in the back hem. So this is my back pattern piece. This is my front. You may recognize this fabric because I just made a cute t-shirt for my daughter out of this. And the front will just fit below this cut. I actually have enough room I can refold over a little bit too if I need to, so I can get the front. And then I just have to get 4 back yokes. I'm actually going to do the same thing with the yoke. I'm going to cut it on the fold, which is how the one I'm wearing is, instead of having a seam in the back yoke, because I don't do the little opening in the back neck. Not needed. It goes right over the head. However, you can see my poor little pattern is in kind of sad shape. It's fallen apart. I keep it in my little Ziploc bag. I am missing my front facing. I have it for the smaller sizes, but I don't have it for this size. So, because I have this dress here, I'm going to trace off the facing off of this and then add seam allowance back, true it back up to this to make sure it all fits. So I've got to make a pattern piece real quick. Then we can finish cutting out, and I can also cut out my interfacings. So super excited I can get it out of this fabric. I got it so both pieces can get cut out. I've made my front yoke. I've lengthened my back. I took my hip curve and laid it on here like this so that I get the deepest part. I measure down 2 inches, so it's the most right here at the center back. And then I use that hip curve to ease it back in. And I don't know if you can see, it's a light blue chalk on there. I've also swung the back slightly so that the neck is taking out that seam allowance, because there's a seam in the back. Removed for the neckline, because I'm also going to do it in the back yoke or facing piece. And then I just let it swing out so that this side is on the, where it includes it in the hemline. What that does is it gives me, if you think there's 5/8 of an inch on each side, that adds in 1.25 inches across that rear end. So it gives me a little bit of fullness at the hem in the back, which is where I'm fuller. So for me, that works best. I also have a little extra added in on the side, so I'm going to take care of my full hip issues because I did not change the grain line. I changed how the pattern is moved out, but the grain is still straight down the center back, so all of that is fine. And here's my front. I've got it moved over so it just fits, but it's on there. So I've got those ready to go. I'm going to cut these out, refold, and cut out my facings, and I've got my interfacing right here, so we're ready to go. We're all cut out, so I'm going to now fuse my interfacing to my my yokes, and I'm also going to put in my darts. I say this every time I put in darts, but I have a video just on doing darts. It's very short, and I will have it linked below. If you've not done darts before, or if you have problems, it's a little Dart 101, and it's really quick. All right, let's get in our darts and get in our interfacing. All right, I'm just pulling everything out and reviewing now that I've cut out, and the first thing I noticed, I opened this up. Can you see this? I have no idea what has happened to my pattern, but it's got big chunks out of it. Craziness. Now, I'm not doing the little V inset cutout on, I just don't care for that. I'm also not doing this in the back because I have already made it knowing that it fits over the head without it. I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to do my outside yoke with the interfacing because I have this fabric that the little design can shadow through on the light areas, but where there's interfacing will help prevent that, which is why when I made this the last time, I used white for the back side of everything so that I didn't have any shadowing through of these little dots. Because I have interfacing this time, the other one did not have interfacing, I'm not as concerned about it. This will help prevent the shadowing through. After that, we're going to go ahead and put in our darts. I'm going to interface and put in my darts. So that's what we're going to start with. Show using like a bias trim for this, and I don't want to use bias on my knit, but I might use fold over elastic. And again, I'm going to use, I don't have enough white, but these are close enough to flesh colored. I might use this pale pink one actually. That against the body, I don't think it will show, and it will make that armhole a lot more stable. I am sewing with, on the sewing machine, the Eloflex stretch thread. All right, now that we have got our front darts in, we're just going to go ahead, I believe, let's check our directions. I think the way they do it is we do our side seams next. Yes, so we're going to go ahead and do our side seams, and then we're going to do our underarm, our little armholes, and then we'll work on our facing. I mean, this is very fast. I'm just going to serge it together. If you saw me make this same fabric for my for the little vintage t-shirt just like 2 videos ago, I made the stripes go across. This time the stripes are going up and down. It is knit, and it is a 2-way stretch knit, so I could actually switch the direction of the stripe. And for me, I'm making them go up and down because it's just more flattering for my figure. The dart, the fullness of the dart will be pressed down. And because I'm using my serger, I will be serging off a little bit of the seam allowance. Okay, let's head over and serge. Got my armhole with my elastic. This is the fold over elastic, but I'm not going to do a fold over where you see the elastic show. You could, and it could be really cute. What I have decided to do instead is I've got it lined up on the right side. I'm going to stitch right along this outer edge all the way around with my straight stitch foot and my stretch thread. Then I'm going to come back and trim out a little bit of the excess. Trim out excess seam allowance. Flip this around. and top stitch it down, and we'll have nice finished and supported armholes instead of using bias. And I've also just very, very slightly stretched this so that it's a little firmer. I don't want any stretching out. Now that that is done, I'm going to trim out the excess inside here so that when it folds back, I don't have any. What I don't want is when I fold this back to have little bits of it showing. I want to make sure that the binding or the elastic completely covers this edge, this raw edge. So I'm cutting only the dress fabric and not the elastic. I'm using my applique scissor, but you can see how once I trim it back, this will fold over and completely finish that edge. I'm probably going to stitch this twice. I'm probably going to stitch up close to this edge and then down lower. I'm probably going to get a double stitch in here when we're done, but I'm just going to trim out both arms. I'll bend you back over for some top stitching. Okay, I'm going to do my first row of stitching, which is going to be close to this edge. I've made sure that my elastic isn't peeking out. Make sure that I have everything in place so that I don't have any issues with my stretch thread. Now this is going to get crossed up here in the neckline, so these ends will have the yoke go across them, which is very helpful. I also have my even feed foot on. You can see the very slight stretch, not much, just a little bit. That's round one. Now we're going to go back and do it again, only wider. Thing I am noticing with this stretch thread, the more I sew with it, is it tends to kind of, I don't know how to explain it, like unwind and want to split a little. It is 1/2 inch, so I'm going to not quite stitch at the 1/2 inch. I'm going to go in a little scant at the 1/2. Here's my 1/2 inch mark. I'm going to go close to, but not quite, between the 1/2 and the 3/8. I just want to make sure I'm catching my, and I am. So on the inside, it looks like that. It looks very nice and neat. This is my underarm. All right, so here's the underarm, neck edge, neck edge. So you can see I've got double row stitching, and this is under my arm. So this will be, here's the little dart, so this is the front of, this will be under my arm here. You can see there's a little bit of gathering from the elastic. It's going to make it come up to the body better. One issue with this one is that it hangs down just a little bit, and if I'm not careful, you get a little bit of bra showing. Not much, but I'm going to make sure I don't have that, especially if I move in the wrong way. Because this one, I just literally folded under 1/4 inch and stitched it, and this one I'm going to make it a little more secure with that elastic. Okay, we have our little armholes finished off on both sides, and we're going to move on to our little yoke piece, or neckband is what they call it. And if you look at the neckband, it kind of looks like it's already stitched, like it looks stitched together, but it isn't. They have stay stitched everything first. So what we're going to do is do the shoulder seams. We're going to have one set that's interfaced, sewn together, shoulder seams front and back, and one set that's not interfaced, sewn together front and back. Once we do that, I am missing on mine because I cannot find my front facing piece, and I had to make a new one, and there are markings on it to show us where to leave open. And of course, I also have, I don't know what happened here. My poor pattern is just decimated. We end up sewing the entire neckline, the neck edge, around together, but when we get ready to do the bottom edge, we leave open the back where it sews on and the front where it sews on, but we're going to sew together at the shoulder so that it's finished in those areas. So I'm going to go ahead and get it put together at the shoulder seams, and then I'll come back and talk to you about this, because this is, to me, was the most confusing part, though it's not really hard. What's going to make it harder for me is I'm missing my markings from my pattern piece, because I'm missing the pattern piece. Since I did not leave my center back open, we can't sew it exactly the way they are because we have no way to pull it through. I made a complete circle. One thing you can do is leave it open at one of the shoulders, pull it through that way, and then come back and sew the shoulder up. I'm going to do it differently. The first thing I'm going to do is just sew all the way around my circle. I'm going to sew with the interfacing on top. The feed dogs will help ease in the difference between the stable top piece and the unstable bottom piece. So we're just going to sew all the way around this neck edge. I'm going to clip and turn so they reinforce this. So once they've stitched it, they've clipped, turned back, and stitched again to make it extra strong. I have not done that on any of mine. I have, once I've turned it around, top stitched it, which works just as well as reinforcing it. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're just going to do this inner edge first, and then we're going to come back and figure out how to finish off this little part of the shoulder, where it's over the shoulder, where it doesn't attach to the dress. We want to get that finished, and then we will attach it. It'll be unsewn at front and back where we're going to attach it to the dress. Well, we'll come back to that. Let's just go around the middle first. Now, because this is a circle, I didn't backstitch here. I'm just going to sew back over and cross my old stitches. Make sure I don't have any flipped seam allowance. Okay. I've clipped up to, but not through, all around that inner neckline. I'm going to come to the side that doesn't have interfacing, and I'm going to trim back some of this excess seam allowance just to make it a little less bulky. And I should have, if I'd been thinking, I would have done this before I did the clipping, but it works either way. We're just going to come and trim all this back, not catching both, only catching the one without interfacing, because I'm going to make the interfacing one my outside one. So we're going to do that all the way around. So what that does is when we flip this around later, it makes it less bulky in there. It makes it smoother. It's a great grading the seam is what I'm doing. And because I did the trimming, it'll also press nice. So I'm going to, after doing all this clips and trims, I'm going to go ahead and give it a good press along this neck edge. Now, the hard thing is to seam finish this edge and leave open here because I have a circle. I'll show you when I get there. I'm going to get this all done, and I'm going to pin it onto my dress. Now, the pattern pieces, if you have your original pattern pieces, there will be little circles that'll help you line up your facing to your dress. I am missing my front facing, which is really important, so I'm going to have to fudge it, and I can also use the garment I'm currently wearing. I think I'll have to go back and I'll use this garment to transfer some facing, some markings. Let me get this put together, and then I'll show you how to pin it on to the dress. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch around this inner circle of the neckband. I'm doing that thing instead of back stitching. I'm going to come around and cross it on my way back around. This is going to be a little bit confusing. This is my side seam, or my shoulder seam. All right, I'm going to go to this side so you can see what I did. What I did is I folded these towards each other, and I grabbed a hold of it, and I pulled it through like this, and I started pinning. And I'm pinning as far as I can. It's the burrito method. If you've ever done a burrito method, it's sort of like the burrito method. So I'm going to pin, I'm not going to get the entire shoulder area done, but I'm going to get a little bit of it. And it's going to make it neater when I get ready to add it to the dress in a minute. So I'm just going to pin for a bit, and I'm just going to stitch this at the 5/8 inch, pull it through, and do the other side. And again, we'll be stitching with the interfacing on top because it makes it more stable. It's not going to work quite as well as if I had the center back open to pull it through, but it works. You just want to make sure you don't catch your burrito roll on the inside. I'm feeling with my fingers to make sure I'm not catching it. Now this eventually will get top stitched too, so I just want to get it as neat as I can on these shoulder seams. And I'm just pulling towards this. Now this is, the underneath side stretchy, so I'm having to be real careful not to stretch it so I don't end up with mismatched neck bands. And I'm going to come back here and I'm going to pull my burrito out. Hopefully I didn't catch it. And what I've done is I've caught it on the inside. So you can see now it's finished off. And this is just at the shoulder where it goes over the arm. But in the front and back, it's not caught. Now, it's not the entire shoulder piece. It's just a little bit of it. And I'm actually going to pull it back through and do a little trimming to make it tidy. It also needs pressed. But it does finish off that shoulder. If you look at the one I'm wearing, it's finishing this little bit off. Now you can see there's a lot of it that's not caught. So I didn't get the whole thing. It just gives a little bit of it started, and then when I pin it on, I will sew it. Well, I'll show you. I'll go through that in a minute. We're going to do this for both sides of the shoulder. It's going to get just a little bit of this completely finished. Okay, we have got our a little bit of that finished over the shoulder area. I'm now pinning the interfaced side to the right side of the dress. I started at the center front. You just want to make sure you keep it even. Again, I'm deviating from their directions because I did not leave the center back open or even do a center back seam. But we're going to just pin just the one side of the yoke, right sides together, to the dress, so that at 5/8 we'll come back later, tuck this under, and top stitch all the way around. But we're going to do that for the front and the back. I'm just going to sew them one at a time though. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the front one on, 5/8 inch. You can see here it is. There's a little armhole. And if you see where I sewed to, you can see I got pretty close. Like there's not that much of a difference between where I stopped making my little casing area. I haven't pressed it yet, so it's a little lumpy looking, but I did trim out. And then, so anyway, after we do that, we'll do the back one. This is the front. Yep, this is the front. Make sure I pinned it to the front. Let's make sure there's a dart there. I did. Okay, so we'll sew that, and then we'll come back and do the back. Then we'll finish it off. Then it's we'll pin and top stitch, hem, and the dress is done. It'll get a good pressing too. I'm starting right at the edge of the armhole. You can see I have a little piece of the elastic showing where I finished off from the back side. That's where I'm starting to sew. Okay, let's do the same thing to the back. All right, I have just pinned on the back the same way I did the front, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to show you the front real quick. Here's the front sewn on before I finished it, and you can see I changed the direction of my stripe. I did that on purpose. I haven't pressed anything yet. I'm going to get the back sewn on, and then you can see it won't be that much to finish off that yoke with some pinning and top stitching, so that's going to be pretty easy. So we'll go ahead and sew the back one the same way we did the front one, and then I'll meet you back here to do the top stitching and finish it off. All right, we are all pinned in, so you can see that's where it's sewn on, and I've turned up the seam allowance and pinned it, and I'm going to come around and just top stitch all the way around, and the whole neckline will be finished. I'm just going to top stitch around. I'm starting in the back. stitching not quite 1/4 of an inch, but close to it. Now you could definitely come in and hand whip this from behind if you don't want to top stitch it. I've top stitched the whole rest of the thing, so I'm not a bit worried about this little bit being top stitched. All right, I'm going to make sure that I caught all the way around on the back side, and then we'll hem. All right, all that's left is the hem. I'm just going to hold it up so you can kind of see where we're at. It's all together. I am loving this fabric. This also has a very 60s mod shape to this dress, and I think this fabric is perfect for it. I'm only doing an inch hem, so I'm just going to turn up an inch and press it and top stitch in that hem. I'm going to press the whole dress, and then I'll head over there and I'll show you what it looks like. And we'll look at all three of the dresses side by side because they're all in a little bit different fabric. This is the 3rd time I have made this dress, and I have made it one time, which is the one back there, and I will show you some close-ups pretty much straight by the pattern. And the others I have done how I'm showing you today. This one that I'm wearing and the one that I'm working on today. Okay, I think this is so cute. I love this particular style in this fabric. Let me show you. Isn't that cute? I think the fabric goes with this little soft shift style dress so well. It hangs lovely. It is a little long in the back right now if I stand straight, but I will just tell you, I kind of end up like this pretty quickly because of my pretty major back issues. It's always a problem for me what to do with that backside hem between my big backside and my posture issues. So I'm just going to leave it a little bit long for now and just decide. It feels right. It hits sort of at the back of my knee, so it feels proper, but I'm concerned that it may look a little long. Let me stand this way so that the light hits it. We'll see. Okay, this is such an easy little dress, so fast to put together. Have you sewn this before? This is the quick sew. No. Have you sewn this before? It's an old pattern. I think this one, I know I still lived in more. It's got to be close to 10 years ago. I think that I made these 2 dresses, and I've been wearing them ever since, especially the knit. I just don't wear this one as often. I just don't. It's almost like a tissue file, but I don't wear it as often, even though it's so cute. It doesn't hang quite as nice or as soft as the knits hang. But isn't it? I just love the fabric, however. Let me show you a few close-ups of the woven one because it does have the, I have sewn it by the direction. So it has the back neck opening and it's sewn differently. So let me just show you real quick. Okay, so here's the back of the dress. You can see that the back is pressed open and then stitched to make an opening, and then I have little snaps. It could also be hook and eyes. I did top stitch the whole thing in white, and I think if I were going to make it again, I would top stitch this in a matching color instead of an opposing color. The other thing I notice when the difference between making it in a woven as opposed to a knit, it is meant to be made in a woven. But I noticed that this shoulder is real sharp. It doesn't angle as much, and I have a really broad shoulder. I'm a really broad-shouldered person, but you can see how this shape is not quite shaped to the body, and every time I make it I think, oh, I need to reshape that shoulder. I still haven't done it, but it's very noticeable in the woven fabric, and it's something that every time I wore it, it kind of bothered me a little bit by how it just sort of stands out. And it may be a me thing. It may be a me thing. On all of these, I did not do the bias tape. I just turned under and stitched. Dress 1, dress 2, dress 3. Thanks for sewing with me. I'll see you next week for another fun video.